rescue our nation.
I just want to compliment what you just said.
Yes.
But, from the days of Ford, we were together. See, Mother only left Ford at the time of nominations because of male chauvinism, which we need in nominations in our constituency. Details are record there. But then we came and teamed together in Parliament. She came through DP, which was in opposition, together with Ford Asili and Ford Kenya. And we worked very closely together throughout that period. In 2002, we were together in NAC. We were together in NAC, and we campaigned together throughout that period of time. And then we went to government together, and we were ministers in the same government. We worked very closely in the cabinet. It was only the constitution bombers where we had differences. And then 2007. But then after that, we again worked in the same NAC government. So we have worked together more than we have worked apart. And as she says rightly, politics, sometimes you disagree in interpretation on issues. That does not make you enemies. So long as you have the same beliefs. You believe in human rights issues, believe in multipartyism, believe in democracy, liberal society that gives opportunity to its people and so on. So we share much more in common with Mother than many people I've worked with.
Wewe si mradi wa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Pengine Rais Uhuru Kenyatta atakuwa na mchango upi ndani ya serikali yako?
Rais Uhuru Kenyatta anamaliza tamu yake. Yeye mwenyewe amesema anamaliza, anataka kwenda kupumzika. Mimi tumeongea na yeye, nimesema yeye amechangia, amefanya kazi yake, umekuwa na changamoto kwa serikali yake, mnajua, lakini nafikiri amejaribu vile angeweza kufanya. Manake vile waliingia katika serikali, katika hali walikuwa washtakiwa kule ICC. Hiyo ilikuwa ni changamoto kubwa sana, lakini tofauti na hayo walijaribu. Tukaja sasa kwa ya pili, tumeketi na yeye mwenyewe alikiri ya kwamba kulikuwa na makosa hapa na pale, lakini tusahau yaliyopita, tufanye kazi pamoja. Na mfikiri yeye amejaribu, ingawaje yeye amekuwa ana pingamizi kubwa katika serikali yake. Manake vile vijua ile serikali ilikuwa ni nusu mkati. Kama upande mmoja ndiye anafanya kazi, mwingine hafanyi kazi, inakimbia tu kufanya kampeni na propaganda kwa miaka 4. Hiyo ni kubwa sana kwa serikali. Mimi najua tulikuwa na tofauti zetu, mimi na Kibaki, lakini tulikuwa tunajua vile tunasuluhisha ile tofauti yetu. Kama sangine kwa mfano hatukubaliana vile alikuwa ameajiri Chief Justice na nini, na mimi nikaandikia barua nikasema mimi sijakuwa consulted. Hapo ndio sisi tulikuwa na tofauti, lakini baadaye tukasuluhisha, na kile tulikuwa tunafanya kazi, naenda kwa cabinet, kama kuna shida tunaenda kwa cabinet, pale tunaongea na yeye na tunasema hapa naona si mzuri. Mimi mwenyewe nakwenda kwa State House. Kibaki hajanizuia mimi kuingia kwa State House. Na kama kuna maneno mimi naenda kwa referee. I used to go to brief him ahead of any cabinet meeting. There's always a session between the Prime Minister and the President. And we tell him, these are the memos we are bringing today to the meeting. They contain this and that and that. They have all been discussed exhaustively at the committee level. They have been approved. So we just bring them here for record and approval. And that surely we go and take those things there, and they are passed very quickly. So we worked very well with Kibaki. That cabinet, bloated as it is, was the most efficient cabinet Kenya has ever had. And we did a lot of things at that time. The Grand Coalition government. Everything that is being achieved by this government has its foundation in the Grand Coalition government. We laid the foundation for infrastructure development, for agricultural development, for water around the country. Now we had even a ministry for Northern Kenya for the first time. We did a lot of research work on how you can deal with ASAL, arid and semi-arid regions of our country. So we have been there before. We are not newcomers in the government. We know the challenges. We know the problems we are going to. I know you're going to want to ask me about the debt issue. We know that there's really nothing wrong in a country in carrying debts. Most countries have got debts. The United States has got public debts. Japan has got a lot of public debts. Germany has got a lot of public debts. In fact, the total debt that the African countries have are less than the debt between just two countries in Europe, Belgium and the Netherlands. Okay? But then the thing is, what you do with this when you borrow, you borrow to invest. Because if you borrow for consumption, then your ability to repay becomes impaired. But if you borrow to invest in productivity, then that enhances your ability to repay the debts. We know that the debt has increased. You just need to now look at what that debt has financed. What project did it finance? And we know that most of it did not actually go to do real development. The dams of Yazaror and Kimarer can tell you that. And there are quite a number of those other white elephant projects which were there, particularly in Uhuru's first dam. That is where most of this debt was incurred. Some of it which has been incurred in the second. The people who are actually crying about the debts are the people who are responsible for those debts. I give you the example of SGR. SGR was a Grand Coalition government project. We conceived it, Kibaki, as a project which was done under the NESC, National Economic and Social Council, which were being co-chaired by Kibaki and myself. It was supposed to be Mombasa, Nairobi, Kampala. So we had a joint committee co-chaired by me, the Prime Minister of Kenya, and the Prime Minister of Uganda. But because of bureaucracies in Uganda, when we had met here, the minutes prepared had to wait to be tabled in their cabinet before approved, and then the next meeting to now go and meet in Kampala, and so on. I went and told Kibaki, at this rate, our time is going to expire before we finish, we do anything. Let us take Mombasa, Nairobi as a purely Kenyan government project. That is how we did that. And then we now appointed the consultants, and they did the feasibility study, the engineering design, tender documents, and we awarded the contract at $2.7 billion. When they came to government, they cancelled that contract and re-advertised, and then awarded it a few months later to the same contractor at 3.6 billion from 2.7. Then it went to 4.3, then 4.6. I don't know 5 point what. So you asked me about the debts. That is how the debt is accumulated. Okay? And that was the first time that those Tanga people are saying nothing happened. Most of these debts were incurred at that time. Now, what we are going to do, because we have dealt with these issues before, we will look at particularly, there are some commercial debts. What is really killing us? The commercial debts with short-term period of repayment, high interest rates. Those are the ones that you really need to renegotiate, and that may be a refunding, or so that you can extend it to a long-term debt with lower repayment rates, and also reduce the rate of interest. There are several ways of dealing with this issue, so that you don't want to get in the government and just work to pay the debts and do nothing. Okay? We have analyzed the debts that we owe as a country. We know that it can be managed. We know what we intend to do with it, so that we don't just go to government and nothing is happening. We will find a way of dealing with it.
If elected President in August and Deputy President in August, you will be the second implementers of the presidential system of administration, presidential system of government. Maybe in a minute or two, each one for you, Mheshimiwa Raila and Mheshimiwa Martha, what is that one thing